whatever part of the world you're watching this video. Well, things have gone from bad to worse around the world, as you know. There was a recent interview that Steve Olsen did with a gentleman called Sam. Sorry, I can't remember his last name, Houston or something like that, which was a fantastic interview. If you haven't watched it, I'd strongly recommend you watch it, because I actually saw the first interview with him, and I had to reanalyze everything that I was doing, because what he said made common sense, and actually what we picked up around Australia, especially with the Point Halloran, the first Point Halloran videos that Strop and I first did, was actually a complete revelation of what this guy was saying. So I'd actually ask you to watch that video and start looking at the sky in a different perspective, because since I watched the first interview, I haven't been able to refute anything that he said, to be honest. So, okay, I promised everyone that I wouldn't show any more pictures and stuff. Well, that's not entirely true. I will if they warrant it. I haven't been on any cameras this week. There's a number of reasons for that. One, haven't been motivated to, until I wanted to concentrate on a few other things. Okay, so let's start off. This whole video is going to be about prepping, and that may sound strange, but the reason that it's going to be about prepping is because of the fact that before anything else happens, we are all going to wake up one morning very, very soon. It could be a day away, could be tomorrow morning, could be a week, month, year. It's not going to last a year, folks, but it is a mathematical certainty that this is going to implode. You know, look at, just for an example, folks, if you follow all the red, if you've got any common sense at all, if you follow the red, all the red, don't worry about the green stuff, right? Well, you can. How about watching this? America's currently got a $19 trillion debt. Well, let's call it 19 and a half. Okay, splitting hairs. Their whole US federal tax revenue is only $3 trillion per year. Now, mathematically, it is physically impossible to make the two come together. It's impossible. Now, when you calculate that is 19 trillion, if you look down here, US unfunded liabilities is 103 trillion. Medicare, 27 trillion. Social Security, 15 trillion. And their federal budget deficit at the moment is running at 5 trillion. Guys, look, you don't have to be a mathematician, or you could probably be a fourth grade student and actually work out that it's going to go kaboom, right? It's just going to happen. There's no way it can't happen. You know, I can click on any one of these, auto sales, gold, demand. Now, everyone needs to pay attention to this, because there is an organisation, two organisations called the London Gold Exchange and the COMEX. Now, when I first started getting involved in this, the COMEX was running at about, I don't know, 10, maybe 50 trades, and that's paper trade, by the way. So you've signed a contract with the COMEX for gold at the current price. If it goes up, you ask them to give you either money or gold back in return. Obviously, they're not going to be able to supply everyone. Currently, the outsourcing of paper contracts to gold, to 1 ounce of gold, for paper contracts is 650. So it's gone from no levels to absolutely ridiculous levels. Now, China actually holds a lot of those COMEX gold contracts. So if China just says by tomorrow that they want their gold, they're not going to take cash, then it's all over, folks. Now, currently, the US can keep printing money, which they are. If you think they're not, you shouldn't be watching this show. I'm trying to figure out how to get back on this thing. There we go. Sorry, folks, lost my train of thought there. If the actual Chinese said today, we want our gold back, well, the American, we can just pay with paper, and the Americans can keep printing money and until the cows come home. Their debt's going to increase. But if Chinese or anybody turns around tomorrow and says, we want our gold, we're not having money, then the whole thing's over, literally in an hour. Now, as I said, the other big problem is Deutsche Bank. Deutsche Bank has a derivatives to value sheet of $100 trillion. They found out $100 trillion of derivative debt, and they only own about 3 billion. They only have assets of 3 billion or something. So very soon, and it started already, Deutsche Bank is actually out on a limb, and it's getting worse. Their share price is going down. They can't produce enough revenue, so their debt's spiraling out of control. So they are literally at the moment the next Lehman Brothers, but without the crash. So I can click on any, like I said, any one of those things down the bottom, and they're all negative, completely negative. You can do it yourself. Auto sales. Let's have a look at auto sales. Well, that's odd. They're not showing it. I was just slow. Here we go. Like, these are thousands out, thousands and thousands out, compared to what they should be. Why do I know that? It's because I watch the financial stuff. So before anything happens, the financial world is going to come to a grinding halt. They know it. Anyone who's got any brains knows it. If you watch USA Watchdog, all the professionals that come on know it. All the people who own stocks and bonds, all the big time players, they all know it. They're getting out and going to gold. It's a matter of days, folks, if not weeks. You know, it's not going to last much longer. And you need to decide whether you're going to be standing there with your pants down or your pants up. So, you know, I can only offer you the correct advice. I can only offer you advice. Whether it's correct or not is up to you. So, you know, we've got the same problem here in Australia. Look, we're almost cracking the 6 ton. Almost there. If I click on this tomorrow, it actually might be 6 trillion. And the target cash rate is now 1.5. And I've said all along, folks, no one in history who has a cash rate at 0 or just above 0 has ever gotten out of it. It's impossible. It's physically impossible to take your cash rate up after you come down so low. The only reason you can go down so low is to go broke. If you don't believe me, think of Zimbabwe, Venezuela, Brazil, Weimar, Germany, Argentina. So at the moment, everyone is physically flat broke, dead broke. All the countries in the world are flat broke. Why? Because America is flat broke. Dead flat broke. You can tweak it and do whatever you want to it, but they're dead flat broke. Everybody knows it, and it's going to crash. So if you're following the world markets at the moment, you will know that it's going through a very bumpy ride at the moment, and it's not getting any better, and it's going to keep on getting worse. One day you're going to wake up and these are going to be 5, 6, 7, possibly 8, 10, 10, 8. America, which is the market leader, could be sitting there at 9% down. So you've been warned. Everyone that has any brains is telling everybody that. And a lot of these guys, I should say, on USA Watchdog are now doing seminars for free to tell people that they need to get the money out of the banks, they need to get their stocks out, cash their stocks in, go get some gold, or do whatever you got to do, but it's going to crash. Like, they're doing seminars for free, folks. So where does that leave us? Well, let's go back to the normal stuff. Why do the governments of the world know that it's all crashing? They don't care that it's crashing, folks. You can't have people with common sense brains who are supposed to be the most intelligent people in the world purposely, and I mean purposely, creating massive deficits. Either they're extremely incompetent and need to be lined up against the wall and shot, or they're just plain criminals, which I'm leaning towards the second one. So once again, it's up for you guys to decide. I know where I'm going. So this is the world currently in the last 7 days. Earthquake, earthquake, earthquakes. No, sorry, go to this one. Australian region. This is quite enlightening. Oops, sorry, forgot the update. There has been a earthquake every day, which stands to reason. But they are actually picking up in magnitude. You look on the left, you'll see what I mean. And there's an earthquake every day except for the 14th, which was my birthday. Happy birthday to me. In Australia. I'm finding these ones here are the ones that are worrying me the most, mainly because of the fact that they keep going off and they're pretty big. So need to keep your eyes and ears peeled, folks, on the eastern coast. Those ones, we don't get too many over here, we're just getting slight ones here. Obviously we do need to keep an eye on the fact that there's earthquakes happening here as well. But in the east coast, this area here is having massive problems. We just need to be aware of it. Okay, something that doesn't come up very often. Going to the prepping side of things now, folks. This is the map of Australia. This is for all Australians. Is the Great Artesian Basin, which is the biggest, as far as I know, I think it's the biggest water aquifer in the world. It's bloody massive, if you look at that. If you're in America, that's probably like the size of, say, from New York almost down to tip of Florida sort of thing, and back through the whole country, back up to New York, through half the country, I'm sorry. So it's actually bloody huge, and it's pure drinkable water. Now the thing that amazes me a little bit, so I'm going to go to a break here, and I'll show you something that needs to be. Yeah, folks, back again. Right. The reason I did that is because I wanted to show you something, and I forgot about it. So this doesn't come up much in conversation, I've noticed. But if you're from Australia or New Zealand, you'll obviously know that Australia has a mountain range. It's not a mountain. We call it a mountain range, but it's actually not. It's just a hill range. And it goes from there virtually all the way to the other end of Australia here. It's called the Great Dividing Range. So it virtually goes over the top of this artesian basin. Now, the reason why I'm bringing this up is because if in Australia you're thinking of somewhere to go, and I want to show you the plan from the pole shift Ning Nancy Leader thing. Now, if this is correct, 2/3 of Australia goes underwater. Now, if it does, then where does that leave us, type of thing? If this part of Australia disappears, and there's only that bit left, including Tasmania and New Guinea up here, well, where do we go? And what do we do? Well, if you know anything about the law of physics and gravity, if you have the potential of this sliding under the Australia, then if that's the case, then what happens to the Great Artesian Basin? As you know, if two water bodies meet, there's a hell of a collision. So is this water going to slide that way, or is it going to stay where it is and meet this water coming that way and pop out on this side of Australia and flood the whole lot of Australia? It's a question that I don't think anyone's asked yet, and I think it's probably relevant that if you do watch Pole Shift Ning, perhaps if you ask them, if you can contact them and ask them if they can advise us, that might be great. because it's actually something that really needs to be taken into account. Because if this water pressure meeting this pushes this water out, then this whole area is just going to be one big water cascaded water coming down the mountains and everything, I would suspect, and just completely flood this side of Australia. So if anyone knows anything about that, let me know, because as I said, that 2/3 is going to go missing. Apparently it's going to slide into the ocean. Well, if that happens quick enough, then the water in the Artesian Basin is not going to slide into the water here. It's actually going to meet the water there, because there's other basins in Australia which aren't on this map. I'll go to this one. There's one there, there's two in Perth, there's that one. So there's all these, the Gulf Basin, these all have to meet. Murray River Basin. So what happens to all the water when they all collect and meet? Just something to think about, folks, as we're prepping, because we have to get from here, Western Australia, to here, to Brisbane, or to Tasmania or Melbourne or whatever. This is something you've got to think about, because if that Artesian Basin starts coming out of the ground, if this starts sliding under, then you won't get anywhere, because it'll all be one big marsh of bog. Massive bog, I'm sorry. So as regards to the Kiwis, well, if this is correct, no one seems to say it's not. That's what worries me the most. No one's come out and said this is absolute crap. I haven't seen anybody say it. So if this is correct, then you're going to be on the equator in the New Zealand and separated by a bit more than you are now. So you need to start thinking about where you're going to end up, where all the volcanoes are, and you need to stay the hell away from them. Come to Australia. While we're talking about that, apparently there will be an active volcano. Mount Gambier is 5,000 years old, apparently, and they're saying that it'll pop its cogs and start spewing stuff out, and that's right near Melbourne. But the winds will go like that and blow it that way and down and around. So Hobart or Tasmania should be pretty good if you want to live in Tassie. All right, getting off the track a bit. So the thing we all need to think about in Australia and New Zealand is, where are we going to congregate? Where is the best place in Australia for NIBIRU community to congregate and start forming a community? I have three trains of thought. These are just my trains of thought. Around this area here, Longreach, because as I said, if you look at this area here, that's the equator. That's potentially where Cairns is now, if you know what I mean, because it's one of the highest cities up this way on the land now. So Brisbane will actually, or Sydney will actually be closer to the equator than it is now. So you have to think about all these sort of lifestyle changes that are going to happen. So there for me, in the middle of Australia. The second one was actually further up around this area, because that's tropical now. So in the future, it will still remain tropical, but it will be a little, because don't forget, this is going to be the closest place to, or Brizzy, sorry, will be the closest place to the new equator. This will be a fair way off it and comfortable, more comfortable than living there, as it shows here. You'd be a lot more comfortable here than you would be living up there. Same thing for down here, and the same thing for living in Tasmania. It won't be as tropical, but it still will be tropical. So, these are all things that have to be taken into consideration. The third one for me was actually Tasmania. Reason I say that is because Tasmania, according to the Pole Shift website, is going to soar out of the ground 700 feet. And it has some pretty hilly country inside, Tasmania there, as we all know, is pretty hilly in the Derwent Valley, etc. And also, I truly believe that if the oceans start going berserk, they will wash this way. This is kind of like being in a big bay on this side of Tasmania. And if it comes up, then sure, you'll have waves going this way, etc., etc. But it's more secluded in this bay area here. You see what I mean? If these two forces, waves, are working together against each other, then it would become a lot less flooded in this area of Tasmania. That's my opinion. So, and if you live in high in Tasmania and you go up another 500 feet, then you should be okay, or 700 feet, I think they said, you should be okay, as it shows here. There's a little Tassie there. So that's my thinking as for safe locations. 1, 2 in the middle, and 3 down there. When I say here, this can be centre of New South Wales as well. There's Tenterfield. Sandy, if you're listening, Tenterfield is a good area. Granite, very big protection from granite rock formations in Tenterfield. And as I said, in the future will become subtropical, and will be as very big mountain ranges there now, and a lot of protection from the ongoing sea elements for the next couple of years, or whatever they said is going to happen. All right, that's my take on it. So then we have to ask the question, how are we going to get there? Well, as I said to you before, if you've got one of these, great. If you can offer a lift to someone, great. If you can't, then you're stuck with like the worst type of car you could probably ever imagine. Then I'm afraid you're going to have to try and get there with that as far as you can until, you're either prepared to lay on the roof or whatever. But you will get there one way or another. I'm sure people are going to take extra cars and, whatever. So you might be right. But this is the preparation time now to talk about these type of things. Not everyone's got the money to actually buy one of these, and not everyone's going to have the money to actually even fill one if they could afford one. So there might be people out there that can fill it and get a lift. That's my point. You might be able to own one of these, but you'll not be able to fill it with food. So you might be able to meet someone who's got enough money to actually stock everything up for you. That's my point. That's why it's imperative, absolutely 100% imperative, that everybody starts meeting right now, today, if you can, as soon as possible. I don't know if you're looking at the same sky I'm looking at and the things I've been showing you, but it's happening, guys. And girls, sorry. I'm trying to be PC there, un-PC. So it's imperative that everyone meets. It's as simple as that. I'm going to send out a letter to the Western Australian people probably tomorrow for a meetup, which will be Saturday week. Trying to think of a location at the moment, but I'll send the email out, and then everyone can send back, and we'll agree on a nice quiet place that we can all meet and start the ball rolling. But it's got to happen soon, guys, because as I said, unless you're looking at the same different sky than me, there's something not right. We've got to do it now. Okay, so how do you get there? We can all sort it that particular item out on the day when we start talking, etc. I do have a Excel spreadsheet that I can send people of stuff you may need. It may help, it may not. You might already have all the gear on it. That'll be your call, I can't force you to take stuff you don't want to take. It may help. Send me an email and I'll send it to you. Simple as that, really. Okay. This is a website in Australia called Camper Trailer Australia, for obvious reasons. It's all about camper trailers. Do you want to be towing a caravan? No, it's too hard, and you might as well bring a pallet of bricks with you. So my point here is, you are going to need somewhere to sleep. You may already have a camper trailer. Great. It will be invaluable, in my opinion. You can either have a soft or a hard floor. What that means is that there is a soft floor, because that packs out and it goes on the ground. A hard floor, I'll try and show you a hard floor. This one's a hard floor, so I don't want to tick on that. There's lots of companies in Australia that sell these things. You know, you can go on this and you can find them all. Sorry, I'm trying to find a hard floor here, but it's not on a video. Oh, here we go. I'll go to reviews. No. Oh, look, guys, I'm sure if you go on there, you'll be able to find one. For me, it would have to be the hard floor because it's easier to set up than the soft floor. If you're a family of 4, 5, 6, then, you know, you want a cheaper version. This here will cost you about 10 grand compared to a hard floor one, which is more closer to 20. You know, these range in price from 10 to, you know, as obviously 20. And then from 20 onwards, you get to the hard floor types from MDC, PMX trailers, a couple of others. Just something to think about, and you can actually store everything you want in this. Okay, folks, I think I've given you the point about the camper trailers. You can buy them second-hand cheap if you want one. If you don't, you know, you can get all your kit from Anaconda, BCF, Ray's World. But listen, if you're living on a budget, on a tight budget, don't feel proud about going to Salvos, Vinnie's, the Blind Society, any of those that have second-hand stores. I'm being honest here, they have phenomenal stuff sometimes for $1. Also, if you go to your local tip, I don't know about you guys, but at our local tip, they've got a sort of like a garage sale section there. You can go in there and buy. I've bought pots and pans, etc., camping pots and pans for $1, brand spanking new. So this isn't all about your pride. You don't have to show up wearing Dolce & Gabbana bloody camping gear if you can find it. This is all about surviving, folks. So go and find what you need at the most relevant places, and don't think you have to spend $100 for everything you buy. You don't. Go and have a look at the tips and stuff like that, and you find unbelievable gear. Brand new sleeping bags, etc. You'll be surprised what you find there. Incredible stuff. And Vinnie's and that, I've bought fatigue pants, etc. for next to nothing. $5 I can pay for them. But if you want to go to a survival store or whatever, you'll pay $150 for them. So that's my point. If you want to buy that $150 pants, great. But if you want to save your money, check out Vinnie's and that first, and the tip. All right. One last thing to say as regards to prepping. This is a container, and this is what I stack all my stuff in. It's 100 litres. Don't go and buy anything more than 100 litre. And the reason I say that is because don't forget, you've got to pick these up in a hurry and throw them into a car sometime soon. 2 people can do it comfortably. 1 person can do it with, you know, not too hard. It all depends how full on you've stacked them. But the reason I picked the 100 litres is because it makes you think about the food that you're going to stack. If you're going to fill it full of water and, you know, everything's going to weigh a ton. So you've got to start thinking about how you're going to pack things and how you're going to get it there, etc., etc. Now, the other thing is, if you're going to pick one of these, great. They're at Bunnings. They're only $18, and sometimes you get them on special for like 12. I think I paid 12 for the lowest ones I bought. Try and find a stackable box that's a different colour, preferably green or red, for your safety gear. And by safety, I mean first aid. So first aid would probably be in a green one. Safety gear would be in a red one. Do not stack it with your normal boxes. The reason I say that is because you want to be able to get to it quickly, and you're going to struggle finding certain gear if you stack it all in the same boxes. If it's red or it's green, it's very visual, and it will save everyone time and possibly save a life, if that makes sense. So, you know, you might want to take 4 of these as your food one, and then have two more, 1 red one, 1 green one, as your first aid and safety. It just makes common sense, folks. Okay? All right. As I said, last thing to talk about really is the is meeting up. As I said, I'm going to send out the invites this week. It'd be really great if someone in Queensland could get in touch with me, or anyone in all the states could get in touch with me apart from WA, so that we can start organising meetups. You know, you'll have to tell me where the best place is for everyone. I don't know. Perhaps if I get enough to point me in the one direction, say in Brisbane somewhere, Sydney somewhere. I don't know. You guys will have to tell me. But the second to that is getting in touch with each other by email. I would hope that you guys are having conversations via email after the last batch of emails went out. All right. So if you're in WA, I will be sending you an email tomorrow, and we'll look at meeting up somewhere. I'd like some suggestions. Obviously, it's going to have to be Perth, because we can all travel to Perth and go away from Perth, and hopefully be on public transport, which will make it easy for us, and we'll have a drink and have a good chat. Yeah. Right, yeah. That's it from me. As usual, we'll finish off with the Lord's Prayer. Guys, please stop sending me emails telling me that this is the wrong way to say it. I don't care. Honestly, I don't. This is the one I'm saying, and the reason I'm saying it is because I don't know whether you've realised or not, I'm 52 years old. We actually used to say this prayer, this particular one, we used to say when we were kids. I don't know the new one. I have said it, sure I've said it at church and that, but I don't know, why did they have to change it? So just for everyone, please don't send me any more bloody emails about bloody prayer. If you don't want to say it, don't say it. Go and say something else. This is the one I want to say. Right, the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, in earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, for ever and ever. Amen. Leave it there, folks. The next video I do, which will be in a couple of days, will be a little bit more in depth about personal prepping, okay, and how to help. Prep Aussie here. I hope you're all well in whatever part of the world you're watching this video. Well, things have gone from bad to worse around the world, as you know. There was a recent interview that Steve Olsen did with a gentleman called Sam. Sorry, I can't remember his last name, Houston or something like that, which was a fantastic interview. If you haven't watched it, I'd strongly recommend you watch it, because I actually saw the first interview with him, and I had to reanalyze everything that I was doing, because what he said made common sense, and actually what we picked up around Australia, especially with the Point Halloran, the first Point Halloran videos that Strop and I first did, was actually a complete revelation of what this guy was saying. So I'd actually ask you to watch that video and start looking at the sky in a different perspective, because since I watched the first interview, I haven't been able to refute anything that he said, to be honest. So, okay, I promised everyone that I wouldn't show any more pictures and stuff. Well, that's not entirely true. I will if they warrant it. I haven't been on any cameras this week. There's a number of reasons for that. One, haven't been motivated to until I wanted to concentrate on a few other things. Okay, so let's start off. This whole video is going to be about prepping, and that may sound strange, but the reason that it's going to be about prepping is because of the fact that before anything else happens, we are all going to wake up one morning very, very soon. It could be a day away, could be tomorrow morning, could be a week, month, year. It's not going to last a year, folks, but it is a mathematical certainty that this is going to implode. You know, look at, just for an example, folks, if you follow all the red, if you've got any common sense at all, if you follow the red, all the red, don't worry about the green stuff, right? Oh, you can. How about watching this? America's currently got a $19 trillion debt. Well, let's call it 19 and a half. Okay, splitting hairs. Their whole US federal tax revenue is only $3 trillion per year. Now, mathematically, it is physically impossible to make the two come together. It's impossible. Now, when you calculate that is 19 trillion, if you look down here, US unfunded liabilities is 103 trillion. Medicare, 27 trillion. Social Security, 15 trillion. And their federal budget deficit at the moment is running at 5 trillion. Guys, look, you don't have to be a mathematician, or you could probably be a fourth grade student and actually work out that it's going to go kaboom, right? It's just going to happen. There's no way it can't happen. You know, I can click on any one of these, auto sales, gold, demand. Now, everyone needs to pay attention to this, because there is an organisation, two organisations called the London Gold Exchange and the COMEX. Now, when I first started getting involved in this, the COMEX was running at about, I don't know, 10, maybe 50 trades, and that's paper trade, by the way. So you've signed a contract with the COMEX for gold at the current price. If it goes up, you ask them to give you either money or gold back in return. Obviously, they're not going to be able to supply everyone. Currently, the outsourcing of paper contracts to gold, to 1 ounce of gold, for paper contracts is 650. So it's gone from no levels to absolutely ridiculous levels. Now, China actually holds a lot of those COMEX gold contracts. So if China just says by tomorrow that they want their gold, they're not going to take cash, then it's all over, folks. Now, currently, the US can keep printing money, which they are. If you think they're not, you shouldn't be watching this show. I'm trying to figure out how to get back on this thing. There we go. Sorry, folks, lost my train of thought there. If